Hello. Let's learn about working with virtual machines using Vagrant and VirtualBox. What I've done so far here is just install Vagrant and VirtualBox on this computer, so I have them. And I'm working with the Git bash shell. I'm in Windows here, and I've just installed the basic Git for Windows and created a really quick repository that has nothing but a README file in it. That'll be enough to get started. If you're doing this in OS X or in Linux, it'll be exactly the same. The command line obviously will look a little different, but the commands are all the same. Everything should work exactly the same way. So as part of this course, I'm giving you a template repository that has a few files just to sort of get things started. So our first task is to merge that stuff in. And you'll find this command on the course website as well. It takes the repository that I'm giving with the template and merges all of that work in. So I have to get the template code itself and merge it into my repository. So I note the Git bash shell gives me VI as my editor. The default commit message for this merge is fine, so I'm just going to do a :WQ to write and quit. And now I have a little bit more. I've got, most importantly, this Vagrant file that's part of the template, and the chef directory that's about configuration management. We'll have to come back to that in the next video. For now, let's have a look at the Vagrant file. So this is what came with the template. This is instructions to Vagrant, and what Vagrant's going to do for us is create a virtual machine following this recipe. What I've said here is that I want a virtual machine based on this VM image that will get downloaded. I want a port forwarded from the virtual machine out to the computer I'm actually sitting at. And the thing that we'll see more importantly here is that I want the current directory shared into the virtual machine, and we'll see how that works in a minute. The only other stuff here is a little bit about the sort of capacity of the VM, CPUs and memory, and then some stuff about the chef configuration that we'll come back to again in the next video. So the first thing I have to do is tell Vagrant to actually start the virtual machine. So what it's doing here is creating a disk image for the virtual machine based on this Ubuntu Trusty 64 box. If you're doing this for the first time, it has to download the whole thing. It'll take a little while. I've done that already. So now it's creating a disk image for my VM, and it's just about to, I guess, start the VM, and it'll boot just like any other computer. And I think we're going to have to take a little pause here while this boots. It does take a few minutes just to kind of get all of its bits and pieces together. So once this is finished, we'll come back and see what happened. Okay, so our virtual machine seems to have come up okay. So again, what just happened was Vagrant created a VirtualBox VM according to the Vagrant file with all the stuff I asked for, started it up, kind of set up the VM the way I asked, and I now have it running. I think. I mean, I can't really see it. I'm still sitting at my Windows prompt. I just have the promise that there's a virtual machine there. So what I can do at this point is actually SSH into the VM. So Vagrant SSH just means SSH into the virtual machine. And you can see now, even though I'm sitting at a Windows computer, I've got this Ubuntu VM, and I'm sitting at the Ubuntu prompt, no longer at the Windows Git bash prompt. So now I have this home directory on the VM that doesn't have too much in it, but what it does have is this directory called project, which, if I come back to the Vagrant file, is a result of this line. That I said I want the current directory, the one that has the Vagrant file in it, to be shared into the virtual machine as a project directory in my home, and that's what I got. So if I have a look in the project directory in the VM, I see my repository, all the stuff that's there that I checked out and merged in to the actual code I'm working on. once we actually start writing code and have something to run, it'll be available here inside this project directory. We can run it on the virtual machine, but edit outside using your favorite text editor. The other thing that we're going to need to do here is actually set up some stuff on this virtual machine, get web servers and development libraries and everything else there. That's a job with the configuration management tools, which is what's going to happen in the chef directory in the next video. For now, I'm just going to shut down this virtual machine. So again, the VM will sit there, it'll run as long as we want it to. Vagrant halt is basically the graceful shutdown. It's turn off the VM. The hard drive image is still sitting there, so I can bring it back up if I want. So reboot, and once again, I'll get the project directory, I'll get the port forwards, I'll get whatever else on the VM when it comes back. This should be a little bit faster because it doesn't have to do a few initial configuration things. It already has its hard drive image and everything else. But after the Vagrant halt, I will still have that entire hard drive image sitting there. It's not too big, but it does add up if you have a lot of them sitting around. So I'm not going to mind that for now, but when you're really done with one of these VMs, you probably want to throw it away entirely. So there we go. So my virtual machine is back. If I wanted to SSH in, I can. But like I said, if you really want to throw this away, you're done with it. You can do a Vagrant destroy that gets rid of the entire hard drive image. Of course, you can recreate it again. If I do a Vagrant up now, it'll bring it all back in, I guess, about the same state that it was in before. So what we just did was actually create a virtual machine, see that we can work with it get from our computer inside and see this virtual machine running. We still have to configure it, and we'll do that in the next video about configuration management.